Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another installation of And She Rants. Today's topic is be mindful. In other words, pay attention. I've learned as I've grown older and become an adult that I no longer am a go with the flow type of person because for me, not about control, but just in terms of knowing what's happening around me, knowing what I'm deciding to do when I say things, knowing what that means, when I do things, knowing what the impact is, when other people do things, knowing what they mean or what their impact is. Understanding those aspects of life has become more and more important to me as I've gotten older. So the idea of mindfulness and doing whatever is necessary for me to be in that space has become incredibly important. I think that everyone has their own way of figuring out what that is. But there are actually specific areas where I'm like, I need to be mindful in this area of my life. I need to pay more attention to what's happening in this area of my life. So today I'm going to talk about 3 areas to be mindful of, what you should mind or pay attention to, and talk about why and lessons I've learned just in either not doing that or starting to do that now and practicing that in this part of my life. So the first thing is mind your business. Mind your business. Mind your business actually has 2 parts to it. The first is mind your business as in stay out of what doesn't concern you. If there's an area that has nothing to do with you and that can cause you anxiety and that can take on burdens and baggage, as we've talked about before, where you are not required to be a part of it, where it's actually not affecting you, stay out of it. Stay out of it, sis. Stay out of it. You don't need to be asking questions, poking into business that's not yours, wanting to know everything about everything that's going on, wanting to understand what people feel about every single thing that happens. Sometimes it's better for you not to know. Not knowing can actually be a blessing in some areas, because if you do know, your mind will start racing and you'll start paying attention to all these details about things that don't matter to what you have to do. So there's that aspect of minding your business. And then there's minding your business as pay attention to your business and what's going on with you. Pay attention to how you feel around people when they say certain things to you. Pay attention to where you feel peace and where you don't. Pay attention to what you like just about yourself and about other people. Pay attention to your business and the world around you so that you understand more of who you are and what you need to be who you are and be comfortable in being who you are, and also in building relationships with people and discovering new aspects of yourself. Knowing where to set those boundaries has a lot to do with minding the business of your personhood. So there are 2 aspects: mind your business as in stay out of other people's business, and also mind your business as pay attention to you and what you need. Those are 2 things. The second area is to mind your surroundings. Mind your surroundings. That includes people and spaces, atmospheres that exist around you. Mind your surroundings. So I think sometimes in the go with the flow age of what we decide, like, oh, I'm like really comfortable just being this person. I'm really comfortable just getting to know new people. I'll go anywhere and let me just stumble into this and let me just stumble into that. That's fine if you have boundaries and know when it's time for you to leave. If you know when it's time for you to get out of where you are, if you're paying attention to where you are, then that means that when the space no longer like requires you to be there, when there's no longer room for you or the energy is off, that you'll actually remove yourself from that. But you'll only take the steps to remove yourself from that if you are actually paying attention to what's around you. So one of the things that I do is I make sure, especially around people, I'm like thinking about how I feel, like if I'm jittery, if I'm uncomfortable, if I feel like I always have to be on guard, if I feel like I have to overanalyze everything that that person is saying, if I feel like I have to ask 1,000 questions to understand what do you actually mean, if I feel like I have to defend myself all the time, if I feel like I can't tell the truth, if I feel like I have to hide secrets because you're not to be trusted. All of those things are part of minding my surroundings and minding who I'm around in those surroundings and knowing exactly how to protect myself. And there's minding your surroundings actually doesn't matter if you're not taking the action to remove yourself from negative surroundings, and also continuing to feed yourself by placing yourself in the surroundings you know keep you fed, keep you whole, make you feel healthy, make you come alive, make you happy, bring you joy, bring you peace. both of those things are required. You need to be able to have the action step of not just paying attention, but doing what's necessary to align yourself with what you've learned when you do pay attention, when you are minding your surroundings. So there's just the part about the friends. And then also, as it relates to places that I'm in and atmospheres, as people say, energy these days, energy and atmosphere is everything. There's a lot happening in the spiritual realm. That's why I took it there. There's a lot happening in the spiritual realm that we may not be aware of. And sometimes when things don't work out, like you want to be somewhere or you want to be around somebody and that just doesn't work out for you, I pay attention to that. I pay attention to whether or not God is literally shutting the door on my behalf because I wouldn't do it. I pay attention to whether or not it's always difficult trying to meet up with this person. It's always difficult trying to get in contact with this individual. Well, maybe I'm not supposed to. I pay attention to those small things, and I pay attention to the energy around people and places. I pay attention to around the energy in a job, in a conversation. You might walk into a group of people speaking. You know, you feel that weird feeling like, I'm sorry, were you talking about me? Or like, what's going on here? I pay attention to that to try to see, you know, what's happening here. Like, how can I read the situation? And not to overanalyze anything. This is not so that you overanalyze your relationships. This is so that you are choosing your peace, you are choosing your wholeness, and the act of loving yourself requires you to make decisions that show that you love you, that show that you care about yourself enough to not do XYZ, or to not put yourself back in the same circumstance, or to not stay around people who don't like you. So all of that encompasses this idea of minding your surroundings, paying attention to who and what you're around, how that affects you, and what you need to do in terms of taking action when you learn about what your surroundings are doing to you or for you. That's number 2. The third thing is mind your mind. I don't know if you watched this episode of The Shop, and it was like LeBron and Drake speaking, but then in the first part it was like Victor Oladipo and Mo Bamba or whatever. You know, I'm not a sports person, but anyway, they were having all these conversations about like being in sports and being in the limelight and being a celebrity, and trolls and people saying things about you and people making assumptions about who you are and what you need. And it was in that, watching that, someone said, it was the woman, and I don't remember her name, and she was the only woman, so I definitely should know her name, but she said something about how you talk to yourself more than anyone else in a day. You are the person you talk to the most in a day. You're the person you're around the most. You're the opinion that you hear the most in a day. And that was so powerful to me. We literally are our closest person. I am the closest person to me. I speak to myself more than anyone else speaks to me in one day. Like, wow, that's crazy. So the question is, what are you speaking to yourself every day? What are you saying to yourself? What are you affirming in yourself? What are you rejecting? What are you condemning? What are you saying to you? Because you hear it 90% of your day. You're hearing what you feel about you. So if you do not pay attention to your mind and what's happening in there, you don't have to say it out loud for it to be something that you've spoken to yourself. Your thoughts are powerful. You hear that all the time in church, but even just in life when people are talking about energy and all that stuff. Your mind is a powerful thing. Your thoughts are a powerful thing. You can literally manifest things with the thoughts on your mind and the words of your mouth. So what are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking about yourself? Just be honest with you. Like, there are areas of my life, like, I'm not kind to myself when it comes to my body. I'm not kind to myself at all. And realizing that I only reinforce this negative perception of me by the things that I think of me, by the places I let my mind go. And it's funny because right before I was making this video, I was speaking to a friend surrounding fear about something. I was like, I'm seeing this thing and I think it means X. And I freaked out about X. I built a whole world where X is true, where the thing that I'm worried about is actually what happened. And now I've lived it and I'm scared. And I'm every day I'm thinking about, is this true? Did this happen? Is this what's going to happen? Is this what's going to happen to me? What are people going to think? And what is this? And what is that? And how am I going to get through this? And I've now built a whole world, and I have a whole plate of anxiety in front of me. because I let my mind go to the absolute worst place, and now I live in that space. Now it's true, not just in my mind, it's in my reality, because now during the day I'm feeling anxious and I'm shaking and I'm having panic attacks and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do about this thing? I'm thinking about how am I gonna deal with the repercussions of it, and who do I need to tell? And you build a whole world over thoughts that you let run away. So you have to, wow, this is for me. That's crazy, because I had this video topic before the thing I was freaking out about happened. And now I'm like, thanks God, because I was about to drive myself crazy worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. It's just a fear. It's just a thought in my mind. It's just maybe this is true. But you have to speak to the things that show themselves, even as small thoughts. You have to swallow them up. Like, no, let me speak life into that thing. Let me speak life into that thing. That's not what's happening here. I do believe that a positive thing is happening here. I do believe I'm protected. I do believe that this is like a moment of fear, a moment of testing my faith in this area. And you kind of have to get into that behavior and attitude of knowing that you have to pay attention to what your mind does to you, because some of the physical manifestations we have are because of what our mind allows us to think about or do. I genuinely, when I was in Miami, I went to Miami and I went on a trip with my girls, and it was a great trip and I had a good time. And I stayed an extra day because I just wanted to be at peace, and I wanted to be by the water, and I wanted to pray, and I wanted to do all this stuff. And while I was on this trip, I literally had chest pain that felt like a heart attack, and I couldn't move. And I called urgent care, like, what do I do? Should I come in? And they were like, go to the hospital. You need to go to the emergency room. And I was like, I'm not really trying to pay that, but safety first. So I went to the emergency room, and they ran all these tests and did all these things, and they couldn't find anything. And they had some assumptions or whatever. And I went back to my doctor, and both my doctor and my therapist were like, that was probably a panic attack. And I thought to myself, wow, can my anxiety of the thoughts that I think, the worries that I have that are on my mind that I've probably never said out loud to anyone, have manifested to the point where I'm in the hospital, where I'm physically feeling that kind of pain because I'm so stressed out about the thoughts because of where I've let them run to? Oh no, like I have to snatch that up. I cannot allow myself to become physically ill, to be physically destroyed, or to become debilitated. Like just, I can't move, I can't do anything because of fear, because of a thought, because of a worry, because of anxiety, because of what my mind does. Taking back your mind is such a powerful, important thing. Minding your mind, paying attention to, why does my mind always go to this place? Why do I always think the worst in this situation? Why am I always worried about this person? Why am I always worried about, will this happen for me? Why? Literally ask yourself those questions. Unpack them, discover them. What happened to me that makes me worry in this way? What's happening here? Where's my mind going? And what is happening when my mind goes to that place? Pay attention to your mind. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to your fears, your anxiety, what triggers that, so that you can capture it, captivate it, and put it under your foot and tell it, no, you're not going to have power or control over me and who I become, okay? So that's the third thing. The three things are mind your business, mind your surroundings, and mind your mind. Those are the three things that I have to say. Sometimes we pay attention, but we don't even pay attention to the right things. We're paying attention to what the world or the media tells us to pay attention to, but we don't pay as much attention to ourselves, to our thoughts, to who's around us, to where we are, who we are becoming. And so if you switch that thought to it's not obsessing over yourself. It's not being self-absorbed. It's loving yourself enough to pay attention to what needs to change and what needs to be consistent for you to become exactly who you're supposed to be. Mind your own business. Butter your own bread. Paddle your own canoe. Did I sing it in the right order? I don't know. But mind your business. That's all. Just mind your business. That's it. And I'll see you next time for the next rant. Bye.